Shockingly, Paul Adom-Otchere abake Kennedy Agyapong in his team and come on say Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia make chechrim. Nienti went to me and deliver the northern vote for the MPP in the 2024 election. And Sakrana so be so almost turn the swaba ma turn the swaba. Nienti a shocking is any say Paul. What kind of publicly or support you Akufo-Addo or support Mahmoud Bawumia. But a instance meaning of the cancer. So I'd like to give you the context. Then when I'm done establishing the context for you, we'll do the analysis. And to make sure so best subscriber, most subscriber not click on notification. The video be at my be not my shape. Paul, I no pay no good morning Ghana. I was say bo oba ebe ye analysis ni be any idea. Now on Hassan Suhini, Deputy Rose Minister, the MP for Tamale South. And I know what panel also. Na post ni busa no, when people come on and then no busa and say, as a ethnic as a Paul won't be. Say na Paul kind.
And you haven't weighed in on the issue of the ethno-religious conversation. I mean, you promised us to deliver certain votes from a certain constituency you've not been able to do it. And so, you know, what's your message now as Alhassan Suhini raised? I don't know what your thoughts are on that as well.
I mean, that's a legitimate and fair question for the Bawumia campaign team to look at and to deal with. It's very legitimate. Because politics is national, but politics is also ethnic-centered all over the world. So people get worried if you are not able to deliver what people thought was your base. But then again, you have to look at the broad global results of the election and determine whether this effect could not have been occasioned by other factors, just other than people didn't like or couldn't deliver his base. So it's a matter, I think, that the jury is still out there. There still has to be a bit more research to understand that the 2 million people who didn't vote, the reasons that supported their withdrawal from the polls, could that have been the same reasons why somebody in a community that was thought to be Dr. Bawumia's home base, could that be a reason why they voted one way or the other? The religious questions. Did Dr. Bawumia get some Christian votes somewhere that is significant, whilst he may have lost some Muslim votes? You know, all of these questions have to be answered. And I think that it's a very fair question. Nobody should sort of exclude that question from the conversation. Some answers must be found. And I'm sure that on the campaign trail, Dr. Bawumia will be asked these questions about, because you are coming again, so you are going to be evaluated based on your performance the first time. So that's really going to be on the table for him wherever he goes. The other candidates have not been on the ballot, the national ballot before, so they don't have to answer these questions. But Dr. Bawumia would have to answer these questions. I'm sure that he will be very prepared for that.
And that is why I find it ridiculous that Dr. Bawumia's response to this question was suggesting that people were playing ethnic and religious politics.
Yes,
He said that, and I was like, no, that's not the response, because if it is religious and ethnic, then you started it. And so when I say this, it's not calling him names. It's just expressing my bewilderment. I mean, I get confused because you started it. And so if somebody asks you the question, you don't reply by saying, stop playing religious and ethnic politics. MPP is bigger than that. I get confused.
And when I said both of them are right, both of them are right and wrong.
When I said my confusion, it's not an attack. It's not a brutal attack.
Both of them are right and wrong. You know, there are two ways of looking at it. If I say that, vote for me because I am a Muslim, the connotation is different from don't vote for him because he's a Muslim. There are two very different things in political communication. Right, you know, so maybe when Dr. Bawumia talks about something is ethnocentric, he's probably referring to the other one that says, don't vote for him because he's a Catholic. If I go and I say, vote for me because I'm a Catholic and I can win the Catholic votes, that's different from saying, don't vote for Alhassan, he's not a Catholic. That's different. I'm sure that even the United Nations will look at the two statements as very different.
But there's context to the Bernard Champong one. He talks about the Boko crisis.
Yes.
And says, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia aligned with one of the tribes in that conflict. And that per his estimation, one of the reasons why Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia did not do well is because he comes from a certain tribal group. Of course, his opponents have debunked that. So just to give the context, they'll say it's not about vote for him because no, but it's about his performance in the last elections as against what he's going to do now going forward.
Brian may be right if there's data to support what he's saying. He may be right.
Okay.
But every election is different.
It's different. All right.
And the context come differently. And fighting on a government platform and fighting on an opposition platform also offers many differences.
Okay.
So we have to wait to see. And I don't know whether there's something that should be said in public,
Right.
even if there's data to support it. I don't know. But Brian may be desperate to see the MPP win the next election, and he's looking at his data and thinking that, look, these are the problems that we had, and so we need to deal with this problem. So you cannot really fault him for bringing it out. But you can also tell him that the election circumstances are different. Every election is different. So let's see what portends for the next election.
Right.
Yes, it would take Paul Adom-Otchere or say a legitimate and fair. My catch was a Ubetmia hate Paul for the politics now there, but he's a sharp guy. And when you listen to the analysis he makes, and one of my actual past days, they say, Ubi Obekachra will say the ethnic comment about how people vote based on where people come from, any religious affiliation, there's something there. And Oxan can be a master severally say the MPP must occasion a proper study into Bawumia candidate channel. Because you see, it's a novelty. No two party will lead this fourth Republican dispensation are presenting a Muslim candidate. Bawumia was the first time. They must test it with data and see. Say sanity, because what big Brazil says sanity. I think it's a very checkered thing. Especially when someone the Bawumia back second at 2028 and year. What campaign message again will Bawumia come with for a possible 2032? This is a good for the court third time now. It's checked. And again, who take Paul Adom-Otchere, who read it between the lines, you can clearly see that he believes in the theory, say there may be something there. That is why he is calling for a proper research. Or we no can be Miss Macau platform severally say. Be a young commercial mudina bonting. I catch them, me Ashanti region, I'm a tea duma. Young Kumobu and Crofo can almost them. Omushi omo catch them, one can a bonting. That is why I make cancer say, I said MPP Bayer, and your MPP for report on the best. I said there need to be an independent, credible political establishment research consortium. Then they need to understudy the research. So when they know these facts, then they will be able to know how to fashion out a campaign to suit him. Because you see, as a compare visa, there was eligibility, there was suitability, and there was viability. Bawumia may qualify. He is eligible. He is over 40. He has a demography. He has a constituency to contest an election. But is he a suitable candidate that appeals to the broad base of a national politics? Because the MPP yina, and yet Bawumia kwan MPP kotono swaba, he is going to a different demography altogether. Different demography, including NDC4. Can he convince NDC people to vote for him? Can he convince floating voters to vote for him? Can he convince the Christian majority, which per the statistics about 70% of our population to vote for him? Can he convince the about 12 to 11% Muslim population to vote for him? Can he convince the northern region to vote for him, which is the northern sector, the 5 northern regions? Can he convince the southern regions to vote for him? They must test it. And I'm happy it's coming from somebody like Paul, because we all know his biases. Paul is pro-MPP, and his biases, he has not hidden it from anybody. So I agree. The MPP must test it. They must test that theory, and they must understand that did he suffer the defeat he suffered based on baby will free a banana. It is pretty important. Again, on the 41% no more can I can't 3, I can't 9 pennies are there no. Paul on that same show also disagreed, and that is a fantastic analysis. It is not true Bawumia has a base of 41.7%. Most starting is every election is different. He doesn't have 41.7%. It is the MPP's performance that is not Bawumia's base. It is a wrong election or analysis to make. He doesn't have. I can't call and say no. I can't call and go binyabi. Bawumia could join election without the vehicle of the MPP at 20% only. So it is the vehicle and the driver that both developed or brought about the 41.7%. It is not solely the driver. So it is a very risky thing to make. Yes, the Bawumia team must be careful how they couch these things. Me, I believe, say, when they're able to do the research, do a proper analysis of it, they can be able to fashion out a more strategic campaign if they establish them new. Because Afro-Barometer catcher said there's a possibility. There's a 12% of Ghanaian people who voted based on ethnicity. There's 11% who voted based on religious faith and all that. It is a fact. It is backed by data. The MPP must internally establish these nuances also based on data, not radio soon come. Say they must test it with data. Then internally they do a proper study to assess it. And one person I'm particularly happy to see free by Paul Adom-Otchere. It's for obvious reasons. And I don't know what to make of it, but share your comment with me. If you are not subscriber, man, not subscriber, now click on notification. With the video be a tuma, ube no it's my shape. Send it to be American. Me here, Ghana, and see you. I'm take off yourself. I'm Misha. Bye bye.